Welcome everyone to Coffee Breaks with Red Hat, a bite-sized 10-minute live discussion session with some of the leading Red Hat industry experts, where we explore hot topics such as DevOps, Agile integration, cloud native, and event-driven architecture. There will be a live Q&A session, so please be kind to us, and also a chance to win a free coffee on us by helping us complete the feedback form for today's session. So today, in episode 2, we are glad to have Mr. David Forden, the Application Development Solutions Director from Red Hat, to actually talk to us about the topic of Agile integrations. So welcome, David. Very nice to have you on this session. Maybe you could give a quick introduction about yourself.
Hey, thanks, Tommy. So I've been doing integration and apps dev for a long, long time, since I was a kid, actually, and I can kind of, validate that by the color of my hair. But my role at Red Hat is it's about helping people to kind of understand and really embrace the new digital revolution and how to actually get success with particularly cloud native agile integration.
Okay. So, let's jump right in the topic. I'm pretty sure that the audience would like to know more. I personally would like to understand because your topic today is about agile integration. Everyone knows about integration in the IT space, but why call it agile integration? What do you mean when you add the word agile to integration from your point of view?
Okay, great question. So a lot of business leaders these days have recognized that planning is kind of dead, and that your success in business is really becoming increasingly based on your ability to react to changes. So changes in the market, changes in compete situations, and things that the business needs to do in order to get innovations to market faster. So actually, agile integration is all about supporting those initiatives, and essentially, there's four key principles of agile integration. So the first of those is actually, deploying application integrations much faster, doing that in a very flexible, nimble manner, and locating the integrations closer to the applications that actually need them, as well as doing that in a more adaptable, scalable, and available architecture with the highest possible degree of security. So there's essentially
Wow.
three pillars implementing agile integration. So the first of those is what I'd call distributed integration, which leverages things like container platform. The second is API-driven connectivity. And the third of those is containerized integration microservices. So I hope that adds a little bit of context for people, Tommy. So back to you,
Okay,
brother.
it's interesting. So what do you mean is that you take integration and you're making it a little bit more agile and business friendly, right? That's what you're saying.
Oh, yeah, a lot more agile and a lot more business friendly.
Okay. So I think at this point as well, right, we'd like to hear from our audiences. So I'd like to open a poll to hear from the audiences as well. Do click on the link in the live stream video to enable your poll questions. So the question that I think I have for the audience is, what are your key integration challenges currently around your digital transformation initiative? So some of the options that we've prepared, some of the key challenges surrounding whether you're facing issues on scaling your integrations, or whether you are actually facing issues with massive amounts of data and increased transaction volumes. And we also have people who are facing challenges on integrating their social media platforms with their digital systems. Or the last challenge we've heard some of our customers face is on scaling legacy application and integrations. So basically, please feel free to provide your feedback on these poll results and keying in what do you think are your major challenges in the current integration space. So, David, with that, I'd like to move on to another question for you, right? Um, I think in the topic for this session, you mentioned agile integration is a key ingredient for digital transformation. Why do you think this is the case?
Yeah, so as a point around the poll, I'd be very interested to hear what people's challenges are. But essentially, digital transformation is about addressing change, as is agile integration.
Mhm.
So there's a real synergy between these two elements of driving success. So essentially, there's three key reasons why agile integration is essential for digital transformation. So the first of those is that digital transformation is really a competitive program that most organizations get into. So they're trying to bridge a competitive gap or maybe to gain a competitive lead. So the front side of digital channels is usually a very thin veneer and almost always requires integration to existing apps and tech and functionalities as well as third parties. So that needs to be done in a flexible, agile manner to increase the speed to market for new innovations and thus the business competitiveness. So the actual act of digital transformation implies that you're going to be processing much larger volume of data and transactions. So this means scalability is a must. And many digital transformation programs entail new customer acquisition as a key initiative. So what this means is customer experience, and that's particularly important. So speed, stability, reliability, scalability, availability, and a minimum are absolute necessities. And then integrate, like I said, integrating new digital apps and technologies with your existing legacy apps is really necessary in order to deliver the full customer experience. So digital transformation almost always requires integration with other digital platforms, including popular third-party platforms such as social media, advertising, payments, and other digital partners. And agile integration really delivers a comprehensive solution and a leading architecture to address these needs. So I hope that clarifies how intrinsically related digital transformation and agile integration really are, Tommy. I'm sure you got a couple more questions,
Mm.
mate. So back to
Yes, of course I do. I think it's a very deep topic. Just a quick reminder to the audience, we will be ending the poll shortly. So for those of you who have not keyed in your opinions and your answers, please do so, and we will actually discuss on the poll results shortly. So, David, I think you've provided a very good context on agile integration and its usefulness in the digital transformation initiatives. But the viewers are, I'm pretty sure, are also highly curious. What are the ingredients that make a good agile integration platform? And from Red Hat's point of view, what should be the critical components?
Okay, sure. Another great question, Tommy. So essentially, that boils down to a few items. So four of them exactly. So what you really need, firstly, is an agile patterns-based distributed integration framework with a lot of connectors and a lot of support for both legacy and digital technologies. So actually, Red Hat Fuse offers such a solution. So we've got like something like 130 odd common enterprise integration patterns, such as route, mediate, transform, and so on to choose from, as well as hundreds of connectors for various different legacy and digital apps and tech. So building APIs is possible with many different languages and frameworks, and the most common of these are fully supported by Red Hat OpenShift, such as Spring Boot, Node.js, Quarkus, and others. So oftentimes digital needs dictate that a polyglot language support or multiple language support is required, and actually that's a key area of strength for Red Hat OpenShift. The third thing is deploying APIs, and that requires sound management of the interfaces with a lot of abilities around implementing security policies, managing access and authorization, reliability, availability, scalability features, traffic management features, and basically everything you need in order to, really get those APIs out the front door and available for third-party developers. So Red Hat Freescale API Management provides all of these features and much more. It's fully integrated with OpenShift and with Fuse. So essentially, it reduces the component assembly workload and allows developers to
Mhm.
focus on getting your APIs out there. So we covered the benefits of containers a little bit earlier, but nonetheless, they're an essential aspect of delivering agile integration. So one thing I'll mention as well is onboarding of legacy applications to the container platform. And the reason for that is because this can actually help make them more scalable and reduce the roadblocks to delivering a more efficient agile integration architecture. So the facilities provided by Red Hat OpenShift Container Platform are unchallenged in the market, and we've got over 1,700 customers to validate that. So I hope that provides a pretty sufficient explanation. I guess it's time for the poll results. Maybe we can have a little chat about that
Oh,
afterwards.
yes,
Back to you. Yep.
sure. So I think the poll results are out. Uh, at the moment, I think a majority of our customers, I think audiences, 52% of them said that their biggest challenge is actually on scaling legacy applications and integrations. What do you have to say about that, David? I mean, it seems like a lot of people are facing all these legacy issues and trying to scale their legacy applications.
Yeah, sure.
What do
So
you think about yeah? Hmm.
yeah, there's a bunch of next steps that I'd recommend if you want to really get the problem under control. And these things range from business to cultural to new technology and legacy alignment. So business alignment, that's really about identifying the opportunities, threats, weaknesses where agile integration can add value, solve the business problems, and so
Hmm.
on amongst all the various planned digital assets, and deliver a very flexible platform and scalable platform for integration. So cultural alignment is not to be underestimated. So when you look at the way that digital apps are delivered these days, it usually entails agile and DevOps methodologies, and really the
Hmm.
integration team needs to also adopt that path and become fully integrated with the so-called squads or two pizza teams that are addressing the digital assets. So the third thing is about the new
Right.
technology, and to me, it actually means like platform and tooling establishment. So getting a very consistent suite of technologies for agile integration that are designed to work in concert with the cloud platform is very important. So I'm a bit of a ground up guy. So I'd recommend adopting a container platform such as OpenShift first because it has a
Mm.
suite of highly curated software for middleware and runtimes that really gets you a long way along the path you need in order to deliver value for digital apps. And legacy alignment, that kind of means being prepared to modernize legacy applications, especially the ones that have a direct interaction with the digital platform. So performance of legacy apps and the digital apps is really key, and one without the other can really be a recipe for disaster due to the existing legacy performance challenges. So in summary,
Right.
the success formula there is like
Right.
business culture, technology, and legacy alignment altogether. So I hope that provides some sound
Mm.
advice. Back to you,
Ah, thanks. I think that I totally couldn't agree more, right? The entire transformation process. So basically, I think that also answers part of my question, my next question. But I guess what I wanted to say is that, uh, do you have any last advice for some of our audiences right out there who are looking to embark on this agile integration strategy? So you've mentioned on business and also cultural transformation. But any other last advice that you may have for our audiences out there that is looking to start on agile integration platform?
Yeah, so without kind of getting into too much of the competitive market for container platforms and all the associated technologies, I think the very first thing I'd be very concerned about is choosing a platform that has the customer references and has the technology in place, which prevents lock-in and really allows you to leverage as much of the open source world as possible. Because what that allows you to do longer term is harness the best brains in the industry, because that's really where the
Mm.
top talent in the industry has started to focus. So I think open source is a pivotally important aspect of digital transformation.
Mm, that's true. That's true. So basically, I think I have been asking a lot of my questions, and as promised, right, it is now the Q&A section. So basically, to our audiences, if you have any questions for David, please feel free to key them in the comment section. And then myself and David will look to answer some of the questions. So I think essentially we have our first question from Mr. Morris Tay. And Mr. Morris here is asking, David, what are the major differences between the various microservices runtimes that are available for integration?
Oh, that's a great question, Morris. Thanks for the question. So some of the runtimes that are available for microservices are much slower than others. So if you look at the typical legacy runtimes that are around, one of them is called Caraf. It came from the Apache Foundation. It's based on OSGI. OSGI was fundamentally designed to boot large servers and not really designed for microservices. Although it's used, it's not ideal. So then, sort of moving forward, you've got technologies that have become available like Spring Boot. Spring Boot, whilst it was originally designed for microservices, probably isn't the fastest way to go. It's a little bit more resource intensive than it needs to be, and it's kind of notoriously difficult to speed up. And microservices need to respond in milliseconds. Then, if you look at the leading edge, really it's all about speed and agility, flexibility, and really delivering microservices in a format that can be fully integrated. And the technology that we've adopted for that, which we believe is the best of breed, is called Quarkus, which is a Java-based
Mm,
framework for delivering microservices.
mm. Interesting.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure the audience has, I mean, we could go on, but I think let's take another question from another one of our audience, from Mr. Clement Lim. I think Clement is asking, right, David, what type of deployment styles do you recommend or should we consider for agile integration?
That's an awesome question, Clement. Thanks for the question. So, when it gets down to it, if you're deploying agile integration, you should be working in concert with the teams that are deploying the applications themselves. So, those teams are typically going to be leveraging advanced deployment techniques like blue green deployment, A B testing, canary deployment, and so on. So, these are some of the techniques that are used in order to really guarantee a much higher degree of uptime, to allow people to experiment with innovation and get things done much faster. And essentially, the integrations really need to sit alongside and be compatible with the applications components that are deployed. So, those are the techniques that I'd suggest are very critical for successful deployment of agile integration.
Interesting, interesting. There is, I think, one more question from Nestor Lim. I think that will probably be our last question because we're running out of time. What do you think is the advantages and disadvantages of using streaming frameworks like Kafka for integration? I think that's a pretty interesting question. I would like to know as well.
Yeah, sure. So Kafka has its strengths and weaknesses. Obviously, the strength of Kafka is its ability to process large streams of data, and that's really essentially what that framework's been designed for. But the unfortunate part of doing that, it loses a little bit in the reliability stakes. So if you look at alternative messaging solutions that actually have reliable messaging and transaction, or what we call transacted messaging available in them, like JMS and so on, or in our case, ActiveMQ, there's a distinct difference in the way that these things are intended to be deployed. So use something like Kafka where you need to process a high volume of messages, but you don't necessarily need to have the absolute transactional accuracy embedded in the solution. And leverage things like ActiveMQ when you need to have that transacted guaranteed delivery scenario. So I hope that clarifies the question. Yeah.
Okay, so one last question from
Right.
Mr. Muhammad Edwin. What is the best practice of lift and shift scenario for a legacy monolithic application and how to break it into multiple microservices?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different frameworks that we use to deliver legacy applications. It's pretty difficult to come up with a one-size-fits-all formula for this. But for example, with Java Enterprise Edition, you know, historical applications built with those frameworks in servlets, EJBs, and so on, there's a mechanism available for delivering those components as microservices in a framework called Microprofile Java. So actually, the latest version of our JBoss EAP stack fully supports microservices built using Microprofile Java. So I hope that
Mm.
answers the question.
Yep. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, if there are any more questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section. I promise you, David and myself will work through tonight to get them all answered. So with that, I think that's all the time we have this week. Before you leave, please do remember to share your feedback, all right, by scanning the QR code or clicking on the link via the comment box and stand a chance to win a coffee voucher on us. So with that, thank you very much, David. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Be sure to see us next week as we have our next episode in the series, talking about cloud native application and how it is taking the IT world by storm. Thank you very much, guys, and see you next week.
Thanks, Tommy. Thanks, everyone. Bye.